What's up, ladies and gents? Your boy is back, and this is episode of Nerd Talk. Here to give you guys my review of Batman v Superman: Dawn of Justice. Now, this is just assuming that everybody and their grandmother have seen this movie this Thanksgiving weekend because I normally don't do spoiler reviews, but just consider this an exception. So I'm going to spoil the crap out of people who haven't seen it. And if you haven't seen it, you've been warned. And if you haven't seen it, don't care, then feel free to watch this video or click on something else. But anyway, as far as this movie, how I feel about it overall. Going into this movie before seeing it, I had high expectations. I mean, because come on, they've given us TV spot after TV spot. They've given us commercial spot after commercial spot. All they've spoiled us with teasers for 2 years. I mean, this movie has 3 years of hype, behind it. So of course you're gonna have high expectations. But I had two concerns. First concern is this movie was 2.5 hours long, and I was worried about how are they going to fit all this material without, this being a whole clusterfuck of stuff, without them just cramming a whole bunch of stuff and, giving everybody character development time, story time, background, fleshing out character backgrounds, and have time for all the fights and action scenes. That's my biggest concern. And the second biggest concern, if this, let's just say, for all intents and purposes, let's just say if this movie just completely just tanked and this movie just did bad at the box office. I mean, of course, it's going to do well as far as making money, but what if it wasn't well received by the fans? What if this movie bombs at the box office and Civil War does better? Is it over for DC and Warner Brothers? I mean, is it a KO punch for Marvel? But I don't think so because come on, they've already got 3 or 4 more movies lined up, and hell, even this movie did bomb. Suicide Squad is going to make up for it. I mean, even though I already called the fact that Suicide Squad is probably going to be better than both Civil War and Batman v Superman: Dawn of Justice. But anyway, as far as the plot of the movie, I like how they did the origin story in this movie, or at least Batman's part of the story. I mean, because you know how like most superhero movies do like an hour of origin story, and then you have an hour of action, and then you have a 15-minute closing. This was not that. They knocked out Batman's origin story in about 5 minutes or less. I mean, you saw his parents get killed, you saw he had the motivation to become Batman, and also they flashed back to 2 years ago with what happened in the events of Man of Steel, with General Zod and Superman fight, and I kind of like how they addressed it because you know how Marvel's Superhero Registration Act, like there has to be accountability for superheroes and collateral damage and people dying. DC did their version of that, and I think they did it pretty good. And that was one of the strong points in the movie. And let's see the overall fight scenes. Now the fight scene between Batman and Superman, it did live up to the hype, even though it wasn't as long as I thought it was going to be. I thought that fight scene was going to be about a half hour, but it ended up being only about 15 minutes, which I guess was more than enough because they had Doomsday. They had oh yeah, the Doomsday fight was actually better than the Batman versus Superman fight itself, and I don't know if that's a good thing or a bad thing. I mean, I guess if you've seen it, you be the judge. But to me, the Doomsday fight was better than the Batman Superman fight, and the Batman Superman fight was the reason why you went to see the whole damn movie. But like I said, that's just all my opinion. And as far as character development, casual. All right, listen. All right, if you go to see a movie like this, then you should have a pretty good idea who the characters are because the Justice League, at least Batman, Superman, and Wonder Woman are household names. You pretty much should know who they are. But yeah, they flushed out. They gave you a little bit of an origin story for Wonder Woman, but I guess they're gonna dive into that more when she gets her solo movie in what 2 or 3 years. Because this whole DC cinematic universe is gonna kind of be they're gonna have to do a little bit more flushing out with the solo movies because they can't do it all in one movie. And that was pretty much the biggest complaint. That's pretty much what I've been seeing online is this movie is like falling over itself and tripping over itself, trying to tell a story and keep us entertained with the action. But yeah, that's pretty much one of the only negative points of the movie that I can really even think of, at least without nitpicking, because people online are gonna nitpick this movie to death and they find everything wrong with it, and that's the problem. Like everybody tries to find something wrong with a movie like this. Why don't you just enjoy it for what it is? I know it's not gonna. I know some people are gonna be like, well, it deviates from the source material. It doesn't follow the comics or the animated series from point A to point Z. It's not supposed to. That's why it's called the cinematic universe. Sure, it's supposed to borrow from the source material, the comics, the previous movies, and then the animated series. It's supposed to borrow from that, but it's a cinematic universe, as in it's supposed to tell its own story. It's supposed to have something for the casual fans and the hardcore fans. Now, Henry Cavill, he did a very good job as Superman. I mean, he did better in Man of Steel. Well, he did better in this movie than he did Man of Steel. And Ben Affleck is Batman. Standing ovation. Standing ovation. He went above and beyond. I mean, a lot. As soon as he got announced for him playing Batman in the DC Cinematic Universe, everybody was immediately dumping on him. Oh my God, you seen how bad he does in Daredevil? He pretty much shut everybody. He shut all the critics and all the haters up. I mean, like he is now in my top three Batmans. So Bale, let's see, Bale, Keaton, and Clooney are my top three Batmans. Not Bale, Keaton, and Clooney, but Bale, Keaton, and Affleck are my top three Batmans now. But yeah, so and I'm also interested to see. I mean, since it's supposed to be the DC Cinematic Universe, I am interested to see how this is going to work into Suicide Squad because they had that whole thing where where you see Bruce in the Batcave, and then you see you see Robin's old costume. I think it's the Tim Drake Robin, I believe. No, it's the Jason Todd. It's the Jason Todd version of Robin, and you see green spray paint where it says "Ha ha ha" jokes on you, Batman. So they reference the killing joke in that movie, or they reference the death in the family for all my comic book nerds. And they also, oh yeah, the climactic fight between Doomsday and Batman, Superman, and Wonder Woman. Wonder Woman had a pretty good she had some pretty good spots in the movie. Like I said, she was, I mean, like you see her scattered throughout. I think she probably only had maybe about 25, 30 minutes of screen time total. But in the last 15 minutes of the movie, she was kicking some ass. She really kicked ass. And let's see, as far as who kicked the most ass in the movie, I would have to say by far Batman did. Batman, he had plenty of good action spots. He had, I think he did have the best dialogue in the movie. And speaking of dialogue, Alfred was pretty much the funniest character in the movie. Now on to the negative points. Lex Luthor, Jesse Eisenberg is Lex Luthor. And I've seen people complain about this online a lot too, about how he wasn't a good Lex Luthor. Once again, I'm just taking it for what it is. He didn't do great. He did a decent job. But you know what? He would have made less of a good Lex Luthor, and he would have made more of a good Riddler. He had that whole quirky, kind of, attitude. He wasn't, there's genius crazy, which what Lex Luthor is in the comics and anime series, and then there's psychotic crazy, like how the Joker and the Riddler are. Like, and he was Joker Riddler crazy. He wasn't Lex Luthor genius type of crazy. I mean, he showed the genius, but that's pretty much people's only gripe and complaint with that. But I didn't really have a big problem with it. It's just that I believe that he could have done better. And yes, they did show it where he had his head shaved bald in the movie at the end. And yes, he will be returning in the DC Cinematic Universe. But overall, I love the Doomsday fight. I love the character. Like they didn't really waste too much time with the origin stories. You get to see the background of Man of Steel and how it all loops together. Oh yes, and you see brief flashes. Notice, see what I did there? You see the Flash. I'm assuming this is the Wally West Flash because the Barry Allen Flash is on TV. So yeah, I think this is gonna be the Wally West Flash. You see Cyborg being created, and then you see Aquaman in the in one of the underwater scenes. So they said they were going to be in the scene. They said they were going to be in the movie, and they were right, but they were just short cameos. But everybody who was a hardcore fan already knows what's up. But anyway, just my overall review. The story, I'll give it a 7. The action, I'll give it a 9. The special effects, I'll give it a 9. The acting, I'll give it an 8 as far as the acting. But my overall rating for this movie, I mean, because it seems like the only problem is this movie, I mean, it had an ending. I mean, all movies have an ending. But to me, this movie didn't really have a clear ending. It was more of a cliffhanger than an ending. I mean, and yes, to not deviate from the source material, Superman does die in the movie because in the comics and in the movie animated series or the animated movie Superman Doomsday, yes, Superman does die. But of course, he comes back because of the Justice League. But overall, I believe this movie deserves no less than a 7, but no greater than an 8.5 or 9. So my overall rating, I'm gonna rate this movie an 8 out of 10. That's just my overall opinion. But anyway, What do you think of this movie? If you guys saw it, comment below, and always like, subscribe to the page if you want to see more. I'll be back with another video soon. Thanks for watching. Peace.